If you're over 40 and struggling to make a career pivot, you probably think your age is filtering you out. Sometimes it is, but most experienced professionals are being blocked by a completely different filter, one they don't even realize they're applying to themselves. In this video, I'll show you how to identify which filter is stopping you and what to do next. I've walked hundreds of experienced professionals through exactly this moment, and for years, I was stuck in the same trap myself. So let's do an audit and figure out which one it is. Let's find out right now before we go any further. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions and answer honestly. 1, are you applying to roles below what you've actually done, hoping to slip in unnoticed? That's not humility, that's the self-filter, playing it safe. 2, could you explain in 1 sentence with no qualifiers what actually makes you different from the other 200 applicants? If you can't, that's not an age problem, because the reality is nobody's rejecting a story you've never told them, right? So, number 3, when the no comes, where is it actually coming from? Silence after an online application could be a dozen things: an ATS filter, an internal hire, a hiring freeze, timing. It's rarely proof of anything about you specifically. A real no after a real conversation with a real person, well, that's a different signal and it's worth paying attention to. So run those 3 honestly, and most of you are going to land on the same answer. It's not them. It's an unclear story told to no one in particular. That's the honest answer. So why does that pattern show up so often? There's a concept from a book called The Big Leap that explains it better than any career advice I've ever read. And here's what the book says. Most people build a convincing story for why they can't make the leap they actually want to make. It sounds rational, but it's often protecting them from uncertainty. And here's the psychology. We all have a zone of excellence, the stuff we're good at and safe in, and a zone of genius, the stuff we're actually built for. Stepping from one into the other is scary, so the mind finds a reason to stay put and makes it sound completely rational. Such as, the market's bad. No one wants someone my age. I'd have to start completely over. Age bias is real, and we're going to get to that. But often the story is doing a job. It's protecting you from a scarier question. What do I actually want next? And do I have the nerve to go get it? I know this one personally. 25 years in my career, I landed in an outside sales role that looked right on paper. It had strong pay, clear metrics, a defined path. And instead, it was completely toxic. It was fear-based, hyper-competitive, political, genuinely felt like Game of Thrones, but with quotas. And so I told myself it was just bad timing, bad luck, bad market. The real reason? I hadn't gotten honest about what I actually wanted next. So I stayed in my zone of excellence, miserable, because at least it was familiar. Here's what to actually do with all that. There's a concept from a different book, The One Thing, called the focusing question. Simple enough to sound almost too simple. And here's the question. I love this question. What's the one thing about my next chapter that if I actually got clear on it would make the rest of this job search easier or unnecessary? Write that down this week. It's not 10 answers, it's just 1. Your answer might be the kind of problem you want to solve, the people you want to lead, or the environment where you do your best work. You don't need more applications, you need one clear answer. If that self-audit exposed a gap in your own positioning, I created a free Career Clarity Starter Kit to help you solve it. It'll help you identify your zone of genius and turn it into a clear direction for your search. You can get it inside my free community through the link below. Now, let me show you what this looks like in a real career pivot. His name is Joel. When Joel came to me, he had been applying online with almost no traction. He assumed his age, the market, the screening systems were filtering him out. And as the search dragged on, he started considering roles below the leadership level he had already earned. But his experience was not the problem. The problem was that he had not clearly translated that experience into a compelling direction or story. So instead of starting with another resume rewrite, we went back through his career and identified the pattern behind his best work. Joel was at his best when he was leading people toward a clear vision, solving complex problems, and building systems that created measurable progress. That became the filter for his next chapter. We then used that clarity to strengthen his positioning, resume, LinkedIn profile, interview stories, and overall search strategy. The process was not perfectly linear. Some opportunities fell apart, and there were moments when he considered stepping backward again. But he stopped treating a difficult search as proof that he had become less valuable. Joel ultimately accepted a senior engineering leadership role at Capital One, managing a team of 10. Same age, same experience. But now he had the clarity and positioning to make his value visible. But I know what some of you are thinking. What if it really is my age? Okay, let's deal with that directly. I'm not going to tell you that age discrimination doesn't exist. The data is clear that it does. AARP found that 74% of older adults considering a job change believe their age will be viewed as a barrier by hiring managers. And a separate AARP research found that 34% of workers over 50 have seen or experienced age discrimination in the workplace. So the concern is not imaginary, but here's the distinction that matters for your job search. The existence of age discrimination does not mean that every unanswered application, automated rejection, or opportunity that falls through happened because of your age. Silence does not tell you why you were rejected. And when you automatically interpret every no as proof that you're too old, you start filtering yourself out before a real decision maker ever gets the chance to evaluate you. That's the self-filter. The system filter is different. That's when you encounter genuine bias from a person, team, or organization because of your age or experience. And when that happens, it gives you useful information about the environment you would be walking into. You may not have lost the right job. You may have avoided the wrong culture. So here's where this actually lands. You're not too old for a career pivot. You're being filtered, just not the way you think. There are two filters: the self-filter, which is unclear direction, weak positioning, playing it safe, and the system filter, which is genuine bias that exists outside of your control. So run the audit, do the focusing question, find out which one you're actually up against instead of assuming. Most of the time, it's the first one, and that one you can fix. Either way, it's not a verdict on your age. It's information. Use it. You're not washed up. I want you to remember that. And I also want you to remember that it's not too late. If you're ready to stop guessing and get clear on what your next chapter should actually be, join the free community below and download the Career Clarity Starter Kit. It'll help you identify your strongest value, clarify your direction, and build a search around what makes you different, not around fear. You're not too old for a pivot. You need a clear story for where you're going next. Remember that. And don't survive your career, choose it. I'll see you in the next video.